Good evening, Ken at Tortoise Capital, nightly strategy podcast for January 23rd, 2023. We'll start with the sniper trade of the day. This is in NVIDIA on 3-minute charts. Now, in the news, Chat GPT, the open AI application, is really good news for NVIDIA sales. And so NVIDIA, which had closed here, gapped up to here, sold back to here, establishing the OR3 right here. The second bar opened and ticked just low enough to get us in with a standard risk box. Which was just enough, right, to take us out for about a -1. It reversed. There was a 1, 2, 3 potential entry here or here. I waited for the OR3 to work. New high of the day. Standard risk box. It's working its way up. That's a reasonable place to lock in that gain. For a no lose plus dinner for two. Still trying to work off the -1 from that initial set. Thing just continues to power north, and now it feels like the news is really running. And so our stop, which had been to here, there's enough for, oh, I'm sorry, that was the first entry. So that's enough to get us to here. One bar low. Lock this in here as you make that entry. So now that's given you this much, which on a 1 unit of risk is already about +2. So you're entering here at about almost +3 with momentum. And then our next job is to see how fast we can get that above our entry, our second entry, so that we can lock in that little wedge. And NVIDIA is off and running. By this moment, when it opens and then takes out that previous high, that's when you can get that stop, which was here, up into here. And then lock in that whole wedge. And now you got all that working. So if we add another 2R to this, somewhere around this price level, we should be thinking about that 2R battle drill for the third entry. And then it will be very important to get this locked in above that entry, because now you would have 3 positions on, and any collapse from there starts totaling up multiple R losses right away. So the second entry for the 2R battle drill is a good one and basic training. The third entry, that usually means that my span of control is to that one symbol. So I get the third entry here. And that's after that nice move into the summer turns into the fall. Fall then resumes after not even breaking through the dragon. And then here's our collapsing dragon line. So as soon as that breaks above that one, and I'm in the region where I want that third entry, that feels good. And then my job is, as soon as I see that move up, I'm getting my stop just above that. And now I don't have to sweat, taking a sharp loss on 3 positions, 1, 2, 3. I can just enjoy this. And then if it hits my stop right here, then I'm all out and I feel like I've done what I'm supposed to do. Okay. And that thing just keeps working. I suppose you could go for 4. if you were gonna. This little formation is pretty nice so that you could get a fourth entry right about here because it had a chance to fail. It didn't. And in fact, it started pushing up and you got the R10 wiggle. So if you were going to put a fourth entry here, you would. And then you would want to make sure that your stop, put that one in the money as soon as you could so that you could lock that wedge in. Same thing. I didn't. 3 was enough. And then logical exit. So there's our 1 unit of risk. So about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on the first one. Second position earns 1, 2, 3. So about 3 on that one. This one earns 1. So that's about 10R on NVIDIA on that news. It was already postured for a nice move in tech, which we forecasted this weekend or anticipated, and semiconductors, which were postured to do well. And then NVIDIA was the strongest of the semis. So this was the least surprising move ever for today. That was sort of routine. That's a COTA 2 re-entry. Quick scratch, micro loss. Another COTA 2, maybe a Z3P entry. That one works for about 2R. And that was enough for the day, so that was about 12. Here's the SPY on 30 minutes. So today's move, straight up, nice recovery. It holds above the previous, that triple top. So the fact that it held here above here, that's a positive sign. So we were prepared for this one. We knew the test was going to be right here. It blew right through it and then closed well. Your PSAR is a nice guide all the way through. So this has some real possibilities going forward. We shift to the daily now. So this is SPY on a daily. Here's our PSAR flip. There's your COTA 2 entry. This is becoming a second COTA 2. Now notice it went from winter to spring to summer, and now we've reversed higher. This is all kinds of good. There's your PSAR trail. Here's the southern skin of the dragon. There's your 1 bar low. And then you're ready now to play a breakout from today's high. So it closed here. So any breakout north of this is off and running. And then our next test level is back over here, which is at the peak of an RL10. So this has all kinds of goodness shaping up with tech in the lead. And this is the 150-day look back. So this is that potential breakout. This was that next move up. And what that is doing is looking right at this peak of the RL10. And if this price can blow through there, that's going to negate all of this weakness. And now we're looking at this little congestion zone. But that's not even really resistance. I suppose you could think of that as resistance. But if it breaks above 418, you know, the next stop is peak of the dragon at 426, peak of the RL10 at 430, which is going all the way back to August of 2022. So this has all kinds of potential for multiples of gains. We'll see. Sideways market. This can just as easily, in a sideways market, reject this level because you have this resistance and that resistance. If that acts as resistance, then this fail starts gathering steam and has to hold at the PSAR or the southern skin of the dragon. Otherwise, it comes back to test 378, and if that fails, you're right back into 358, just like it did here. So do not go to sleep on a sleeping bear that just moved into the spring. Today's price action in the sectors. Here's our S&P baseline at 1.2. What was weaker? Diamonds in emerging markets at 0.75. Treasuries were off a half. The Russell was about even with the market, and then the Qs were the strongest at 2.2. So that is tech beginning to lead the way, and you see XLK is even a little better. And here's Tesla, and here's your three semiconductors like we talked about this weekend. Texas Instruments, Intel, and NVIDIA. Energy was negative for the day, but Devon Energy still had some juice. And then here's our three metals. As tech takes the lead, you got metals in the form of Alcoa up 1.5, U.S. Steel flat, and then Cliff was negative for the day at minus 1.72. So this is a rotation into tech and the semis, and expect NVIDIA and Tesla to keep going. That would be the least surprising move of all. That's everything we want to see on that. Let's take a look at the traders today. They did some nice work. Agnieszka, she thinks she stayed a little too long, and that was probably indicated. So maybe that was a minus 0.2 of an error for staying too long. But then she stops and reverses and gets it paid right back. That is a really nice exit. Now, the PSAR flip and the SSC is right there rather than here, which could be a second entry. But I would rather see you taking this one than a routine exit that's going to give you 0.6 rather than minus 0.3. And then that short at the PSAR flip would give you this trade. Rather than this little scratch and scratch, we'd be short from here, and we'd probably make 1, 2 out of that. This is a properly executed, great scratch, better re-entry, and then there's your 2.5. Now, if you were ever going to practice taking the second position, you come back to this one. And so very close to your 2R battle drill, when it blows through resistance, with momentum somewhere in this region, second position, and then you gain an extra little taste. But that's really nice work. In Tesla, she gets the, this is on a 5 minute, so that's an OR5. Gets long, standard risk box, nice cash, watches the consolidation, waits for the breakout. Sees that if you were ever going to add a second position, it's probably here because it held with a higher low. That's a great 1.1, great re-entry. Boy, that's just as good as you can get. Very nicely done. In turns, bringing the heat. Nice. All right, so let's take a look at Tim's work here in Nike on the 3 minutes. Here's the U.S. opening. That would be an OR3 short, which probably scratches. He takes the OR3 long. That much of a gift. I want to take the 1 bar low because you've already had it reject at the Z3 line, and you're holding at, almost 3R right there. So I think we gave back too much. Then the re-entry when it comes above the dragon here, although that's still pretty good. I think you waited way too long. When this thing fails, take the 1 bar low at the edge of the river. This is supposed to go. When it doesn't, get out. Then we can actually be short here or here. Then the exit should be somewhere in the dragon. Re-entry here. I would have lost one and re-entered. This gets paid, and now this failure to fail, we should be long in here and riding that strong wave of up one, up two. Um, so this is a nice short. Our re-entry's got to be here when it crosses the VWAP, and then you get paid on this move. That's a great SSC reversal. You get paid. Here's your re-entry when it crosses the VWAP, and you get paid there instead of here. So I think we had opportunities to do much better in that one. Gold miners. Here's the OR3. I'd have been very tempted to take this one long and trying to connect back to here. When that failed, I would try to be out in the at a half of a loss. I don't mind that short and the quick scratch. This one I like because you didn't get sucked into pulling short in here. You waited to see it fail. This one 1-2. I like that exit here. You got the excess move. You're trying to overcome that loss. I'd rather take this than this. That's a great reversal. Super. And then we need to, where are we in here? We got to have that. Then after the Z3 pinch, above the PSAR or above the VWAP and moving. So I think this should have been about +1 with better play in here and in here. All right, here's Mexico. Here's the U.S. opening. So the OR3 gets long. Okay, I like getting paid, but man, we got to get this. You got a rising VWAP, and right in here, either right here or right here, we got to nail that. And I like the re-entry and the quick loss, but then I still got to keep playing these. That PSAR is telling you what the deal is. And the rising VWAP, we got to learn to see those. We got to see the positive upward affirmations and get that trade. EWW is a tremendous intraday directional trader. That's a good recapture. So we got to get more out of EWW. I'd rather see you trading that one than Nike, to be honest. Cliff is a nice intraday mover. Yeah. We got to find ways to find those movers earlier. And then the Kata 2 here. This is vicinity, the VWAP test, so that we should get paid inside there. Nolan with NVIDIA. We saw that trade on the sniper trade of the day. He gets the OR3, nails it. Quick scratch, recovery. There was an opportunity, but in ours that was about a 2-hour trade, I think, 2 or 3. So that's pretty nice work. And there's more room coming on NVIDIA tomorrow. Microsoft. Now, this is the one he noticed that he was able to be disinterested in before, and that paid off today. Standard risk, got paid, quick scratch, stays out of the chop. That was worth a shot. I don't know if I like that one that late in the day. But I'm glad to see you didn't chase and you made bank in a very relaxed manner. Microsoft may be one of your favorite symbols now. Let's see. This looks like Woj. So the reason to pay attention to SPY is when you see this market open, and you should be really emphasizing the long side in tech because that was the sector that was leading. Stayed out of the chop, got the opportunity. As you get range expansion, it starts to get wide. Notice it changed to green, so he gets that trade and gets paid. That's really nice reading. And rather than monkeying around with the index, he goes and finds the movers and nets 6.2. And I would agree your MMRB may be too small because of those quick scratches. Although you brought home 5.8, so maybe not. That's probably just about right. The metals were lagging, so he didn't stay too long. Devon Energy, he got caught up in the chop, and energy was weak all day. By this late in the day, we shouldn't be messing with XLE when tech is running amok. And you had some symbols that were really working on Nvidia and Tesla in tech. So let's find the movers and stay with them and not get distracted to some of the other, even though the other ones are standard reliables. Okay. All right. Let's look at the daily report real quick. Dashboard 1. We're still in sideways quiet. That's favorable, but remember, we're still pretty close to the 200. We've healed quite a bit all the way back to the 90-day. Risk Z is still showing the way up. It's it's not abnormally risk on yet. This is still early days of the upside move, which is why I'm really excited about it. Intel in Techland. I like that. And I do like the semis. Here is some strength in Apple. That's a no-brainer. Strength in Disney. Microsoft is back to a 10-day high, and that means it has room to go to catch up to Apple. And then strength in Tesla, starting to recover nicely in here. Lots of auto framers. That tells you there's plenty of targets that are still well below their 10-day low. Only one 5DD in Johnson & Johnson. I like Intel and Nvidia. Intel may benefit from the tech move tomorrow as well. ETFs, a lot of big breakouts. These three here, that is emerging markets, Asia less Japan, and Mexico. Mexico, fellas. Long side. Breakouts in tech, S&P, S&P Tech, and oil exploration. So tech leadership coming on board. We got to exploit that. Standard auto framers and squeezes. In the sniper sets, only CVS Farms is on a stealthy Godzilla. And VIX and marijuana, still stealthy Godzillas. Follow through to the upside as indicated here. The multi-time frame NDX gives you the where the real winners are. I still think there's room in those two for some benefits. But Mexico, look at this, fellas. Come on. Emerging markets, Asia less Japan. Tech is still in early days of recovery. That weakness that you see in here, that's the beginning signs of a resurgence of tech. And this is money rotating out of treasuries into tech. Even finance is coming along for the ride with a big 2-day move. You got to like that. So, plenty of stuff to look at for tomorrow. Let's get this published and posted and be ready to get them.